Hello guys, welcome to episode 7 of What the Tech. My name is Adam Lobo.
I'm Syed.
And today we are going to be discussing about a bunch of tech news. So what do we have exactly, Syed?
Oh, okay. The biggest tech news of the week: a new iPhone
Okay.
coming in. In the middle of February, which is that's quite interesting. That hasn't been done at all, is it? I think, if I'm not wrong, or at least it's been a long time since that's happened. And we'll also be talking about a lot of AI actually this time around, and robots. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
And as usual, as mentioned, we do have the YouTube community post where we'll be asking questions and then all of y'all can give a feedback and comment. And it's actually one of our favorite posts for the week because when we ask you all the question that the Huawei Mate XT was launched globally with a whooping price of 14,999 ringgit, and if you convert it in euros, is 3,499. So the question is that would you get it if you had the opportunity? And the bunch of comments was so cool. We need more comments like that. So yeah. So those are the ones that we're going to be talking about. One of the main things is, of course, the fact that the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that when Apple launched the iPhone 16e, they basically have eliminated the SE. So there's no such thing as SE anymore. Moving forward, they're going to be releasing the E model. Mm-hmm. I guess I understand why they did it, because the last SE was SE4, if I'm not mistaken.
SE3.
SE3. Yeah. So the last SE was SE3. Yeah. So I think if they were to release SE4, number one, Chinese not so very good number.
Yeah, that's true.
Number two, I think it would confuse people.
Yeah.
So this reminds me of the time where Samsung decided to, just cut off instead of it being 11, 12, 13, 14, they decided to go to 20 straight.
To streamline everything.
Everything. So I think that's exactly why they did it. So basically, there's no such thing as SE moving forward. Imagine the uncles and aunties who have the SE3, they would freak out. They're like, what happened? But a very surprising release. Yeah. Last week when I had this conversation with Lehut, telling him about, how it's going to be something brand new. Mm-hmm. So the surprise was that all of us were surprised because that was the only release. Yeah. From a reporting perspective, I'm glad it's just one release because
that's true.
We only needed to just report on one thing, because it was more than one thing. Then it's going to be difficult for us because the event was at 12 a.m. sharp. We didn't know what time it was going to be. We just literally stand by my laptops. I was in the studio, Syed was at home just reading. And the moment they made the announcement, we were like, hey, okay, it's out now. So, yeah. But from a tech fan perspective, I was a little sad because I was expecting something new. Yeah. Because Mr. Tim Cook said that, welcome.
A new addition to the family.
Exactly. Yeah. So, last week, Lehut was here. He had his prediction, but... Yeah. What were your prediction before the whole event? Because you were not around last week. So what was your prediction?
Honestly speaking, I actually, I was actually expecting the SE, but when he said new addition to the family, I thought, okay, maybe it's not the SE, but I had a really strong feeling that it was going to be the SE. I was like thinking maybe it's going to be a new Vision Pro, or maybe like you said maybe like a more affordable Vision Pro, or maybe the Apple car, because that rumor has been gestating for so long already. And to say that I was surprised. Actually, yes, I was surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised because the 16e looks very promising, looks very good for its segment, for the segment it's targeting. And honestly, I wasn't too surprised, but I was at the same time pleasantly surprised.
Before we go into the iPhone 16e, I think we're going to get Apit to show again later on Tim Cook's post. Mm-hmm. After really being an Eric Voss after a long time, because, that tweet caught us by surprise. Yeah. So I didn't have time to really digest it. But eventually, if it wasn't the affordable version of the iPhone, if it wasn't the affordable version of the Vision Pro, like an Apple Vision, it actually looked like an AirTag if you really look at it.
Yeah.
So the
that's
way
true.
how the Apple logo was, so I was thinking, oh, could this be a new version of an AirTag where, maybe the precision finding is at a whole different level and they haven't updated the AirTag. So that was one of the things which I thought. Another surprise is that we all thought that they will also announce the M4 MacBook Air since that is not being announced yet.
Yes.
So I was surprised that those other devices were not announced. Hopefully, these are the ones, because I think the next calendar announcement or on-ground or in-person event will be WWDC, which is coming up in several months. We had this conversation earlier to say that Holy Mother of God is going to be like March already next week, right? So now going into the device itself, what is it that you like about the iPhone 16e, first and foremost, and followed by what you wish that the iPhone 16e had, which is not on the iPhone 16e?
Oh wait. Okay. Honestly, what I really like about the 16e is pretty much what I like with the SE series as a whole, because it's affordable package with like very close to flagship specs. You get the same CPU as the same processor as the mainline iPhone series, and then you get pretty much all the good specs from what you expect from the mainline iPhone series, all packed in a more affordable package, smaller device. And I mean, this time around, it's not exactly small because it's about 16.1 inches. It's 16.1 inches, which is the same as
6 inch, not 16.
Sorry.
Imagine like the iPhone 16 inches.
Hello.
Oh, hello. I know you're big, bro, but calm down.
Sorry, 6. Sorry, I got confused with the 16 and the 6. Sorry. But 6.1 inch is about the same as... no, it's exactly the same as the 16. iPhone 16. Right? 6 point... There it goes, 16.1 again. But 6.1 inches OLED screen, the same as the iPhone 16. And it's a pretty impressive device, honestly.
What do you think of speaking of the screen, they included a notch. So this is very reminiscent of the iPhone 14. So what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that if they went with a similar display with a dynamic island, that would increase the price overall? Or why do you think
it would definitely increase the price. That's not really a foregone conclusion. But it would definitely... honestly speaking, I don't really have an issue with the notch, considering that the dynamic island itself is already, I wouldn't say an eyesore, but it's the position is already there. So your eyes are kind of trained to say, okay, the notch is going to be there, regardless of whether it's going to be a traditional notch or whether it's going to be a dynamic island. Your eyes are already set. It's, I think, pretty much the same with all phones nowadays, because we don't have any more pop-up cameras. We don't have... And I'm not a huge fan of the embedded cameras, because it always looks like you're taking a picture in a smoky room.
Yeah.
Like when you go to like all these dingy bars and whatnot and try to take pictures.
How do you know you've been in a dingy bars? Huh?
Maybe. Let's leave it at that.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. What is it that you wished that the iPhone 16e had, which is not available on the iPhone 16e, or you feel like whatever was the compromise, you're like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, there was some compromises. I think the biggest compromise is MagSafe. For me, MagSafe is one of the best iPhone innovations. Apple innovations to come to iPhones in recent times. Personally, for me, because I feel that it's so convenient. Because then you don't have to get like a specific case for you to just attach stuff, And even though it's kind of like how the S25 Ultra's S Pen, no Bluetooth and whatnot, I feel that on paper it's going to be a miss. People are going to miss it, but at the same time you could buy cases, and sometimes these cases are not even expensive. You can go on Shopee and get like a MagSafe case for like 20 ringgit, those kind of things. So I mean, it's not a huge loss, but I do feel that maybe they should have included it.
Okay. Is that it?
What else? No, actually, I do feel that the price should be a bit lower.
So you feel like it should be like what, 2,500 ringgit?
Yeah, if they do that, it's like 2,499 or 2,599.
Yeah.
They would kill the market. Literally,
I agree with you.
Like people will clamor for it because it's an iPhone. Regardless of how you personally feel about iPhones, they are the cream of the crop. And like people say, like now the topic is on Apple Intelligence, how it compares with Galaxy AI and all the AI eraser thing. Yeah, true. Samsung does it better, but when people think of smartphones, they don't immediately think of Samsung. Like it or not, it's as much as an Android fanboy I am and a Samsung fan I am. When people say smartphones, people always think Apple, people always think iPhone. So the iPhone SE, I think, is a little bit overpriced at 2,999 at 3K. I think that if they price it slightly lower, even at 2,799, I think people it will just literally explode. Well, not literally explode, but it will it will explode in the market.
Okay. For me, I think there are 3 areas. The third one has to go based on the price, which is not a huge problem. But my number one complaint was exactly what you said. I cannot live without MagSafe, number one.
Yeah.
I was shocked only when I did a comparison. You know how Apple's website has that comparison thing?
Yeah.
Only I realized, there's no MagSafe. I know there's wireless charging that was presented during the event, but they didn't specifically say there's no MagSafe. I live like with MagSafe, and I don't like to use a phone with a case. So I'm not gonna go out there and buy a Shopee case and stuff like that to protect a freaking expensive phone, right? But I like just using the phone without the case. Oppo is doing similar to create that MagSafe like wireless charging. They call it the magnetic wireless charging, but it sucks. They try to do as cool as how or as like strong as Apple does it. It sucks to a point where I just don't even bother. Even the brand new Oppo Find N5 has wireless MagSafe. It is cool, but you can ask up it. When you try to put it, it's like pop, it falls down.
Really?
I don't know why they're not strengthening it. I don't know why, whether or not is this an issue with patent. The fact that Apple call it MagSafe and you cannot do the same technology, but that was the same when the iPhone had touch features, right? Then others did it, and then Apple tried to sue them and stuff like that. But yeah, MagSafe was so important for me. The fact that I just sit in the car, take my phone, and just put it, and now it's not there. I'm gonna do it when I review the SE when we buy it. I'm gonna sit down there, poop, I'm gonna fall down. So I need to mentally prepare that I'm going to be using an iPhone without a MagSafe.
Yeah.
So that would be one of my biggest gripes. I just feel like if we had that would be great because I love MagSafe and I cannot live without it. Second one is the ultra wideband chip.
Okay.
It's not so much about making crazy calls because now Apple has the new C1 modem.
Yeah.
It's precision finding. So in case you all did not know what precision finding is that you can use the phone to have features like, speaking of the AirTag earlier, precision finding on the AirTag is only for that similar kind of chip. So not having precision finding is also a bit bummer for me, especially with the fact that I travel a lot. Now, of course, I would use the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the 17 Pro Max, the 18 Pro Max, but if there's someone who's going to buy the iPhone 16e as their main device, this is something also worth considering. As for the price, I'm on the fence a little on here. Interestingly enough, earlier I got a phone call and it was like a regular, like an office number. Okay. I was so close. I was this close to not picking up the phone because I thought it was some kind of scam.
Yeah.
I answered the phone. I kept quiet first. And then I had this voice, "Hey, Adam, don't put down. It was Hanif, meaning Ian and Hanif from Fly FM.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted to know what my opinion was on the iPhone 16e. So I was like, okay, bro, I'm going to save this number. So next time I won't reject the call. So yes, thankfully Hanif, he knows me. He went like, hey, madam, don't put down. So yeah, he asked me the same question about, he talked about the iPhone SE, what is the things that, people can expect from the phone. But before I put down the phone, he did ask, hey, bro, what is the right amount of money to spend on a phone? Fantastic question. That could probably be our next community question next week. So note that down if you need to. I felt the 3,000 mark is the way to go because I felt like for an iPhone's perspective, that is I would say the right price to pay. There will be certain compromises, not having the MagSafe, just having one camera, although it is technically two with a whole telephoto, zoom in within the high megapixel count of 48 megapixels. I think the price is fair, but you are right, because if it were to go down like 2,799, that's a nice sweet spot. I think 2,500 ringgit or 2,499 would be extremely generous. I don't think that will ever happen, but yeah, 2,799 would be a very good sweet spot. And for those of you who are listening and watching, this is our humble opinion, and the whole team can really attest to this. If you want to buy a smartphone that can last you for 4 or 5 years, I think looking at something within the range of 2,799 to 3,000 ringgit would be a great offer for you all to actually make a purchase about, because when you go with a budget smartphone, some people come up to me and ask me, 1,000 ringgit, what phone should I get? I said, you know what? Top it up. Top it up to at least 2,000 ringgit. You will see the quality and the price difference so much. But once you crack, or once you go above that 3,000 or 4,000, you won't see much of a difference in terms of the pricing at all. So hopefully you can bring this similar topic for next week. Okay, so
before that, speaking of I just want to take back a bit on the iPhone 16e. I feel like, now that I think about it, I feel like one of the more interesting aspects of the phone is actually the C1, because this is the first, I think, since one of the old iPhones. I can't remember the last time, but prior to this, they've all been using the Qualcomm chip for calls and whatnot, all the 5G, 4G connectivity and whatnot. So this is the first time since they bought Intel's modem department back in 2019. So, because when you're talking about it, the gears kind of started.
You're right, though. We didn't talk about that. So let's talk about that further. So based on your research, since you're talking about that, because to be honest, I didn't even know about the whole Intel thing.
Yeah.
Is this a chipset which Apple has built from ground up based on your research?
It's basically ground up, because when they purchased Intel's modem department, they pretty much gained I think it was about 17,000 patents, I think, if I'm not wrong. 17,000 patents, and then they gained, of course, Intel's staff and whatnot, all the experts and whatnot. So this has been a long time coming. Honestly, I forgot about it.
I didn't even know about it, so thanks for telling everybody about it.
I forgot about it. So when I was doing more research for the podcast, and also I came across it, and I was like, oh yeah, because if I remember correctly, I wrote about it back then in one of my the old media publications I worked with, if I remember correctly, because there's like a certain level of recognition, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
I'm glad that they made it from ground up. I think this is another Apple chipset situation. Like, for example, the M series has come in like in this crazy wiping everybody off. And compared to like Google's Tensor chipset, for example, that is like, I pinjam Samsung, can you give me some parts and stuff that. So I think having that from a ground up is good. I only heard one rumor, and this was from John Prosser, and he was talking about how Apple's going to be integrating a brand new modem for 5G and all. I mean, I love John Prosser. He's a funny guy. I met him, and I didn't think that it was going to be true. And it is a very good way to show how serious that Apple is not only looking to typically come up with best cameras and stuff, because ideally a smartphone is as good as whether or not you can connect to signal.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the Apple C1 modem is an underrated feature if we have to put it that way.
It's it's underrated, and then also this could cause a ripple effect, because if, let's say, the C1 is the performance of the C1 is great on the 16E, you mean like no major complaints or call drops or whatever, because if it's really great, that means Apple can completely cut off Qualcomm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and when Apple completely cuts off Qualcomm, that is a huge revenue stream cut off for Qualcomm, and that could again cause ripple effects. I mean, sure, okay, other smartphone brands still purchase Qualcomm chips, either their SoCs or their modems and whatnot. But again, this is Apple. This is iPhone.
One of the top selling phones in the world.
Exactly, and it could easily topple any other Chinese brands, Japanese brands, Korean brands, whatever. So, Qualcomm, I wouldn't want to be in Qualcomm shoes right now.
So before we close the topic about the iPhone 16 or the iPhone SE lineup, there's an article which you talked about how the iPhone SE was the top search trending by Gen Zs prior to the iPhone 16e launch. So talk about that.
I think the reason why that happened. Okay, so basically the iPhone SE was the top search, top trending search in not just Malaysia but in our region, the whole region, and this and Malaysia actually is the top country in the world.
So this is based on search on where? Google or which platform?
It's a Google search. This is the data, the survey is basically done by Carousel, of all people.
Okay, so that means is this search is on Carousel search or?
It's on Carousel search. Yeah, sorry, not Google, but it's on Carousel. It's on Carousel search, and there's a huge spike in the 18 to 24-year-old demographic in terms of iPhone SE. I mean, I understand why, because it's an iPhone, and the iPhone SE is the cheapest iPhone you can get at the moment. So yeah, I mean that's quite interesting. I mean, the 18 to 24 age demographic actually topples over the other demographics, like 25-year-olds to 32-year-old, which is just quite interesting. I mean, where do these people get the money, man?
That's a good point. Yeah, so I guess maybe the fact that it's on Carousel is people are looking for second-hand iPhones. I don't know what is the current price for the second-hand iPhone SE, but probably people are looking at that because it is even more higher value in money compared to buying an iPhone 15 or even an iPhone 16 second-hand. And then I'm the kind of person who always go on Carousel and buy second-hand lenses. All of the lenses here are all from Carousel. Carousel, not sponsored, but you can approach Saeed and I for being sponsored.
Yes,
but yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I also got an email. I didn't really look into that. I'm glad that you talked about that because it shows that, these are the top trending search. We always get this kind of report from Google.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we get this similar search from a site like Carousel,
exactly.
who is not your Lazadas and the Shoppees of the world who sells brand new products, is secondhand. So at least people who have an SE which is sitting in your drawer, not us, you can actually sell those, because we use all of our devices until we kaput. So it's not kaput, it's good. Okay, what do we have next? So apparently you mentioned it's a very interesting collaboration between two very big brands, which we talked about earlier, to create something very interesting. So go into that.
Actually, it's not a collaboration. Actually, both Apple and Meta are creating their own AI-powered humanoid robots. So they're approaching it actually from different ends of the spectrum. So Apple is more, you know how Apple is. Apple is very closed off, very very personal, and so basically the way they're doing it is they're creating AI robots so that they can use it just like any other Apple devices, where it's part of the ecosystem and whatnot. I mean, okay, all these are not confirmed, but this is what I saw, this is what I read, this is what from the research I got. So we might have to take this with a pinch of salt because AI-powered humanoid robots are, damn, that's straight out of sci-fi. So, and the potential repercussions of having AI-powered humanoid robots, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, but at the same time, I've watched enough sci-fi movies to know that maybe this might not be a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, coming back to on both approaches by the two companies. So basically, Apple is doing a closed off route, and Meta, on the other hand, is doing open source. Basically, they're going to develop the tech, they're going to develop the robot, the tech, and all the software and whatnot, and then they will ask third parties to come in. Maybe like, okay, you want? I'll provide you the robot. I'll provide you the rough base software. You come in, maybe the Samsungs or Motorola. I don't know. Maybe because sometimes Motorola comes up with really weird stuff. So yeah, other companies, maybe Chinese companies would come in, but I think Chinese companies would do their own most of the time. But yeah, I mean, if Chinese companies do come in, that's a lot of money there. So yeah, I'm quite interested to see where this goes, honestly, because yeah. What about you? What do you think?
I don't think, I mean, this is rumors and it's not confirmed. I don't think Apple will do that anytime soon because I think the last time they came up with something totally different and wow, was the Apple Vision Pro, just to show what they can do. But I think at this point in time, I'm not working for Apple, neither do I know anybody from them very close enough to know this information. Even if I'm close, they will never share this information. But I think if I had to guess what Apple is up to is to really improve Apple Intelligence, knowing the fact that they still have some sort of a collaboration together with ChatGPT instead of doing everything on their own. I think that itself shows that they are not fully ready when it comes to Apple Intelligence. I have been experimenting a bit more on the writing tools.
Okay.
I think it's definitely better than ChatGPT. I've seen what they've done. And because it's directly on the keyboard, similar like Galaxy AI. So yeah, that's a whole different topic. But I feel like if Apple were to venture into something like this, they probably are, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. However, Meta, on the other hand, it does sound like what Zuck likes to do.
Yeah.
Create something, open source developer. Hey, come lah. You got to be.
Yeah.
So I think that is more possible to happen because it's not because, Meta innovates more than Apple, which to a certain degree, probably yes. But it's because of his way of doing things, his style, his pattern of doing products has always been something like that.
Yeah.
So I think among everybody, like last time the Boston Dynamics and all, I think that if there is going to be a brand which is going to do it, I think it will definitely be Meta on that. Whether I think that having AI-powered robots, people call it scary. Not for me. I would love to have it. There's so many things which I can feel like the AI-powered robots can do, like clean Luna's litter, clean after food once she's done and eating everywhere, clean Luna's babat after she's done pooing, because sometimes it's like a baby, she's got, okay, enough. For those of you watching and listening, I'm sure you'll have different visions now, but yeah. But on a serious note, I wouldn't mind, because I think that once it's available for consumers, if you're going to let me test it out, I'm all in, I'll test it out. Because if I had my hands to even program that, if I knew my program style, I would do it. But I think that is something I am personally looking forward to, having a so-called robot helper or folding clothes, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I can have
Clothes.
a whole laundry list, literally, pun intended, about what an AI robot can do for homes. I am not scared at all. Speaking of which, I was late to the game. I only watched Megan when I was on a flight back from US from Unpacked. I was like, I finally watched it. I liked it because I love James Wan. James Wan. And I think that it'd be cool that you have our own Megan to eliminate people and like, Okay, let's go into the next topic.
At least you're talking about eliminating people, because I know some people who want to make it for something else.
Okay lah. We all know what it is lah. The moment Syed talks about something else, we all know already. You know, it's funny. The last podcast that we had Pie Snatcher who's back again, and he said that he loves the podcast because he finds it entertaining. This is the clown. On another note, he also came up with a suggestion that we should do like your Hot One style, whereby we eat something.
Okay.
I like the format that Hot Ones does, so probably we can do it like sambal belacan or something. And then we talk about tech and eating. It's a good idea, but yeah, I think we'll be following. But one of the things that I feel like we should do in the future is to react to certain tech stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be
interesting.
something that we can actually put in a segment. If you think that that's a good idea, Pie Snatcher or anybody who's watching or listening, let us know in the comment section below. Okay, the two more topics that we have over here. Another one is also in relation to AI, which you're going to talk about. So let's start off with that, and then I will go into the community question.
Okay. So Xbox just announced that they're using an AI model called Muse AI to basically help them in game creation, and not just like help with additional dialogue and whatnot, even game creation itself, like where should the character go and whatnot. So it got me thinking, like, okay, now, I mean, when we talk about AI, we talk more like how it affects our phones and whatnot. And nobody really talks about how it affects gaming. So now that it's already entered like the gaming space, it's already starting to enter like the gaming space and whatnot, I was thinking, damn, AI is everywhere. It's really encroaching. I mean, okay, it's the fact that it's encroaching like the whole of society. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, because I find AI very useful, especially with work, or like menial tasks. Like I can't tell you how many times I actually ask Gemini or ChatGPT, can you tell me where I can go out to eat? I live in Kelana Jaya, PJ. Please list out.
KJ represent. Okay.
Please list out the good restaurants that that won't burn a hole in my wallet. So yeah, it just got me thinking, like, AI is definitely everywhere, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
You actually do that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you actually ask Gemini.
Yeah, I do.
Like, I find that people who ask that would be like, bro, can you do your own research? Number one. Number two, maybe because I can eat the same thing every single day, so I'm fine. But I didn't know you do that. So you actually ask Gemini or ChatGPT where you can eat in Kelana Jaya. But you've been living here, you're born and raised here.
Not in Kelana Jaya. I mean, like Kelana Jaya. Actually, there's this one place called Humble Food Company, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, near Sri
My
Kelana.
wife will know lah.
Yeah, so I didn't know about it until Gemini was like listing out some of the places, and I was like, Humble Food Company? What's this? And then I was like, oh, okay, it's right next to the clinic. I always go. I never noticed it.
Yeah.
It's always been there, and it's been there for years apparently.
It's quite interesting because sometimes the basic ones is something that we don't use. I don't personally use that, but it's interesting that you use. Going back into this particular Muse AI, I mean, we talk about AI being in games, but wasn't AI already in games? Like, for example, you're playing Street Fighter. You're using Ryu, fighting against Akuma, although I'm an Akuma fan. Isn't that AI already? What's the difference between whatever is already available last time? Like I said, you play Mortal Kombat, you play Street Fighter, you're fighting against the computer. The computer is the AI.
Yeah.
So how crazy it could be? Is it like we are talking about someone who's playing on behalf of you to strengthen? So like Lihud, he plays Forza Horizon.
Oh, okay.
So he has that one where, like sometimes he goes on auto, like he press the space bar, stuff like that, just for the sake of getting the runs and the miles, right? So is that what we're talking about, where AI is using your account to play?
No, for that, it's like, that one it's more in-game AI. But this one, because AI itself is helping to create the game.
Oh.
Yeah, so that one is, because that one has always been human based. Like people will decide where to go. But this time, if you use an AI, okay, let's say make an RPG and whatnot, that opens so many doors. like, like if
So you can create. So it's like this. It's like a prompt to create a game.
Pretty much.
Bro,
So
that's Silla side's hid. Inside joke. I think everybody who has been watching this podcast knows already what is in our heads. So it's an AI to build a game from scratch.
Yep.
Wow.
That is interesting, and that is the one that got me thinking, because games are very tied to human interaction, from the creation, from the point of creation to the point where people's playing. It's all about how you interact with the game. So
If you had a chance, don't mean to interrupt.
no problem.
What is, like, if you had this tool with you in front of you, what game would you create with AI? Be honest. What type of game, and what are the prompts? You've been using Gemini and ChatGPT daily, like me. So what is the best prompt would you prompt in order for you to create not the ultimate game, but in order for you to create the game?
Okay, so number one would be Top Gigolo. Okay, I don't know. I'm just kidding. No, not that. No. But for
There
me,
you go. I told you. I didn't say it. He said it.
but for me, I'm an RPG guy. So if I were to be a video game creator, I would try to make an RPG that's based in Malaysian history. Like let's say you make a game of Hang Tuah, or not just like, let's not go that deep. Maybe during the British occupation, like how we gain independence. So we make a game out of that.
Ooh.
That'd be honestly interesting. But yeah, I mean, whether or not you can get a game like that funded and made, that is a totally different story lah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Wow, actually, honestly, it's a very good idea. I'm impressed that he came out with such ideas like that. Good job, Syed. For me, my biggest problem about games today is that there's so many different annoying elements into every single thing that you do. I cannot get used to it. Call me an uncle. You know what games I really miss and really appreciate? Simple games like Quake. Where you just go and shoot and kill everybody and sort it. You got no gun, you just go and grab the gun from there. You have no bullets, you go and grab the bullets from there. This one, no. They will have this corner here, you go that corner. And then after that, like you have this kind of level of things. You need to improve this, improve that. Can you just go back to something simple? So if I were to create, I will say, please create a similar game like Quake, but probably like what you said, let it be in a place in Malaysia, for example, like at the top of KL Tower, for example. Ooh. So yeah, just to have that local element. I don't know whether you know this game, but my younger brothers and I used to play this like when we were so much younger. There's this game called Heroes by Might and Magic.
Okay.
It is this strategy kind of game. Yeah. And it was so cool because you build your castle and all, and then you just go and explore around a map, and then you just kill people. It was so easy. It was so easy, but right now it's not that easy because... And then even God of War. Do you know how many times I tried to play the latest God of War with the son, and I stopped halfway, meaning like, I wish the 1, 2, and 3, you get what I mean? Where you just go in and turn,
just whack
everybody, and they have this, and then you eventually go and meet some woman, and then you do it to get some extra energy. But yeah, I just miss those kind of games. So I would say that, create a game similar like God of War, and then please make it not complicated. Yeah. That is the problem. Why I don't play games anymore. So yeah, if I had to create an AI game, I would prompt that exact thing.
Honestly, I get that. Sometimes you just want to just jump in, play, and then turn off. That's it.
Yeah.
And you don't have time for like games now. People like the challenge. Like,
I don't like the challenge, man. I play games to let go, not to stress even more.
I used to play a lot. I used to play those games a lot back then, but now with work and life and whatnot, I can't do it. Call me a sissy, whatever. I'll just play Pokemon all day. You know?
So yeah, I think Said has mentioned what is his feedback on what is the AI game he would create, or a game he would create with AI. Mine would be that. So if you want to participate in this conversation, let us know in the comment section below on what kind of game you would create if you had AI to just produce that. How far away are we from this? Or is this still like a beginning stage, or is this like a rumor?
No, it's not, definitely not a rumor. This was announced both by Microsoft and Xbox. So I think it's still in the early stages, but we'll definitely see it maybe sometime in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so the final question that we're going to be talking about or addressing is the fact that this week was one of the most craziest week ever. Mm-hmm. 2 days ago, I had 2 hours of sleep because of the amount of announcements that we had. So besides the Apple announcements, there were 2 on-ground events. One was the Huawei global launch for the Huawei XT. There was the MatePad Pro 13.2-inch, the Huawei Band 10, which was quite interesting because they didn't have that in the hands-on area, and also the Huawei Free Arc. Now, Huawei was not the first one who came up with a similar earbuds. We haven't got our hands-on that on a review unit, but I had my hands on that. Very impressive indeed.
Free Arc is what? Open,
Free Arc, like it's like open ear, something like.
Okay.
Remember how Anchor had it? And
yeah.
It's not bone conduction. It's more directional kind of thing. A lot of people did it. Like Anchor did it a lot. I remember.
Edify also
did it as well. But the main highlight was, of course, the fact that the Mate XT, the price is finally announced.
Oh yeah.
Before we talk about the price, I think we all need to remember that 5 years ago, we never even heard what is a foldable phone.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
That is not too far. It sounds far, but yeah, 5 years ago, like, no such thing. We have come to a point where we have trifolds now.
Yeah, that is crazy.
We've spoken so many times about the great potential of trifold, but we need to remember and absorb the fact that trifolds are not only available, but it's available for everyone.
Yeah.
And knowing the fact that you can just go, if you are watching or listening to this in Malaysia, you can just go to Pavilion KL Mall. You don't have to pay a single cent. You literally go into the mall, you just line up for a queue that explain to you everything, and then here you go, play with it. It's mind-blowing. How is that even possible? But of course, with such technology, it comes with such a very interesting price, right?
Very interesting.
So the official price of the Huawei Mate XT is 14,999 ringgit or 3,499 euros. It's interesting because the local launch in Malaysia, they showed the euro price, but they didn't show Malaysian price. Okay, whatever, bro.
Oh, they didn't show the Malaysian
They didn't. I was there and they went like, euro price. I said, where's the Malaysian price? Didn't come out. So we got press release, like how we got it. So the question that we asked in our community post about whether or not you would get it. Mm-hmm. So we had Marcus TZB. This is our favorite. He said at the same price, you can get a Lenovo Legion laptop, 6,500 ringgit, PS5 Pro, 4,000 ringgit, Switch 2, 3,000 ringgit, a full HD TV at 1,500 ringgit. Top-notch answer. I really respect your answer. I love that. Another one is that the Samsung Z Fold is already pricey enough. Now with 3 folds, but over 10K, you can pay a car down payment or a house down payment already. 14,000 can do a lot of things with that.
That's true.
He's right. But at the same time, people buy the Samsung Z Fold. You can use that money to put a down payment for a bike.
Yeah.
So I understand where Fi is coming with this, but I feel like, the idea that Marcus just literally put that into perspective is quite mind-blowing. But I get where you come from with this Fi. So Said, start with you first. What is your thoughts about the 14,999 price in Malaysia or 3,499 pounds. I'm asking the question very long for you to have time to think. And if you would buy it.
Okay, 15K lah, to simplify things. The phone is 15K. Honestly speaking, I don't feel the price is 100% fair, but I do understand why it's that high, considering that it's the only trifold phone ever in the world. It's the first trifold phone in the world ever, and it is pretty much groundbreaking tech at this point in time, because, like I said, nobody's done it. Nobody has it. Everyone has a normal fold. Oh wow! Now people I can actually say normal fold. Like you said 5 years ago, no one's heard of a foldable. But yeah, it is steep, but it is steep for a reason. And the reasons are basically what I just said lah. It's the first one. It's groundbreaking, whatever. And if I had the opportunity, if I had the resources to do so, and I really want to play with new tech, yeah, I would get it, honestly, because there's nothing like it. And if I get it, I'll be like one of the first few in the world to have it. Not that I care so much about being the first in anything, but because I like to play with new tech, and if I have the money, of course I get it, because then I'll be playing like playing folding all the time, and I would get it if I had the money lah.
For me, I think you have to ask me in the different times of my life. I think right now, since we are blessed with opportunities to try different tech in the world, and also being a business owner, every single purchase that you make, you need to think 4 or 5 times. Just got married, think 4 or 5 times. If you have a kid like Apit, you have to think 5 million times before you buy anything. So at this point in time, I would say I wouldn't buy it. And one of the compelling reasons on why I wouldn't buy it is similar like why I didn't buy Samsung's Z Fold first generation. Because although I don't see any issues with this current Mate XT, but I've always been a person who would go out and get the second generation because we might see something even more crazier.
Yeah.
But because of such price point on what you can do, like what our friend here, Marcus, has clearly said, for me, 15,000 ringgit, I want to go for holiday. That is because I need a holiday. So it all comes down to whether or not would you buy with that sort of a price and which area in life that you want. Like Lihur and I was talking about last year, like those ballers who buys phones every day. Maybe they will just get it for the sake of whether it is very usable daily. We used it for a week. It was in the studio here for a week. I believe, yes, you can use it. But with that sort of a price, is that worth it to buy, to use it daily when you can already survive with even a foldable phone? So yeah, that's my answer. I know it sounds confusing, but I think in a nutshell, I wouldn't get it. But I get why you would get it, because it is something whereby you can flex, right?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you can literally unflex it from a small regular phone to unfold it. And knowing the fact that it is still a very nice size compared to possibly something which is going to be so thick. So it is still a phone which is pocketable, still a phone that you can use compared to other foldables. Okay, before we close out the whole entire thing or the whole entire podcast, this goes down to a foldable instead of a trifold, which what Huawei has done. That is something which has released yesterday as of the recording of this video, but you'll be watching this on Saturday night. The Oppo Find N5, which is the thinnest foldable in the world. We still do have it here in the studio before we give back the review unit. But before that, what are your thoughts on the Oppo Find N5?
Oh, I really like it, honestly. I was just holding it, comparing with the Z Fold yesterday, and the N5 really feels more comfortable than the Z Fold, honestly. Z Fold, it's a pretty phone. It's a pretty phone. It checks pretty much all the boxes, but at the same time, it looks very. It's nice, but at the same time, it's just that. It's nothing like that kind of thing, you know. And for the N5, I wouldn't say it's mind blowing as either, but it does feel better in the hands. I do feel that the hinge is also it feels slightly better, and I actually like the whole design where the screen is. Was it the screen boxy or was it the screen with the? I can't remember, but at the same time, it's a mixture of both boxy design and also a curved design. That one I actually kind of like because it gives variety. And like for me, I'm the kind of guy that likes nasi kandar, so I put everything. So it's a mixed bag for me. So that kind of mixture, a good mixture, not like throw everything, see what sticks. I'm not that kind of guy, but a good mixture of like design and specs and whatnot. That one I enjoy, and that's what I felt with the N5. It's a good mixture of pretty much everything. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does things that some other manufacturers don't, and some they do the things that other manufacturers do, but they do it slightly better, slightly more different.
I like your idea of how they didn't reinvent the wheel, but they did everything perfect, and I totally agree. The Oppo Find N5, I would say it right now. What's the date today? Is February 21st, 2025. Is the best foldable smartphone in the world right now. It beats the Huawei Mate X6. From a software perspective, it is so good. I think we always had this conversation about how smartphones software needs to be good.
Yes.
Until Samsung comes up with a similar form factor from a build quality and overall design-wise. First of all, I love white color smartphones. Knowing the fact that it's white color is so sexy. Same like the Find X8 Pro. Other than the amazing white color finish, it is so pocketable to a point where it really feels like a regular phone. But one of the things that when I used the phone for a week that I really loved about, guys, is the fact that the crease is almost like really unseen at all, to a point where it never bothered me, the crease, before this, to be honest. On the Z Fold 6, when I was using the Huawei Mate X6, it didn't bother me so much because I understood there's a crease because it's a foldable. Makes sense lah. But when you use the Oppo Find N5, you'll be like, oh, so it is possible. It is possible to have such a minimal, like you cannot see the crease at all. And the brightness, the cameras, the Hasselblad one. So to be fair, when both Lee Hood and Apit went to take pictures, I didn't like the pictures because of the fact that it was very gloomy. But that showed that even with a gloomy, non-blue sky, the pictures still turned out great. The macro shots were good, still cannot beat Vivo's one, but it was good. Overall, it is a phone that I would put my SIM card and use it every single day.
Oh, okay, that's good.
If
that's
I had one foldable that I said that I could switch to, is that. And I'm a Mac user for 23 years right now, and knowing the fact that you can talk directly on with the Mac, use your finger to control it like a trackpad. That is something even Apple did not do with their devices. I don't know how they're managing to do this stuff, because how is it that Oppo is doing better integration for Apple devices more than what Apple is doing right now? That for me is really mind-blowing. Again, when I went for the Oppo Find X8 Pro's launch or the series launch, my main hook to people is Oppo and Apple being friends? We do not know. But then again, if they need to implement something like that, there has to be some sort of a connection here, because like what you said, Apple products are not open source.
Yeah.
So how is this even possible? You know what? I don't want to know. I just want to make sure that whatever Oppo is doing, just make sure that it works seamlessly, which it did. Like me and Uma, when we tried the whole Mac thing, and when we came back to the studio, because it was before launch, so we had a pre-launch software. where not everything worked as how it was supposed to be. But when Uma and I tested it out in our first impressions experience area, everything works so seamless. Transferring file was super fast as well, based on our video as you saw it. The trackpad one was a hit or miss, but then again, that was pre-released software. So the Oppo Find N5, take it straight from me, is the best foldable out right now.
Ooh, big claim.
So it is. Thanks, buddy. It is. And it all comes down to if any other foldable smartphone brands can beat that.
Maybe this will open doors. Maybe this will open doors for other manufacturers to say, oh, okay, since Oppo did it, then it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I think once they do it, it's possible. I just feel that Oppo should not oversell the fact that it's very thin, is very thin. That was the marketing gambit. Again, not as bad as Honor. Y'all know how much I love Honor, right? But yeah, I think they should market their ColorOS 15 a little more because that is the main differentiating factor between an Android device and also an iOS.
Yes, that's true.
Because remember that it's the simplicity of things and the way Oppo has really tweaked ColorOS. I used to not be a fan of ColorOS. I find it annoying.
Same.
I still think that the ads should be eliminated and all the bloatwares, but overall, they're moving towards a good direction, which is good for all of us consumers as well. Okay, as for video releases, that is what we just released. Next week, we have more camera-based reviews. I plan to do together with the team an in-depth review of in-depth camera review of the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, because in our review, I didn't really go deep into that part, so I plan to do that. We have hands on the Marshall, the Marshall speakers
and earphones.
and the earphones as well. Very interesting because there are certain things which is good and not so good. What is the exact model? I'm not going to tell now. You have to stay tuned and subscribe to that if you haven't done so. Also, at the end of the week, which is next week, I don't know what time's my flight again. So I might be already heading to MWC. MWC is Mobile World Congress, for those of you who are not that familiar, whereby you have a bunch of items there and bunch of smartphones, which I'm also looking forward for that, especially for the rumored Xiaomi 15 series.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very excited for that. So yes, I guess that is the conclusion for today's podcast, What the Tech. It is quite long. We're getting longer weekly. Hopefully it doesn't give extra headache for our upbeat behind the camera. And with that, we'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Once again, this podcast is not only available for you guys to watch on YouTube, but also on every audio podcast. And if you have any comments, either comment at the comment section below, like most of y'all do, or whenever site comes out with a community post every Wednesday, you can also comment over there. So thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Adam Lobo.
I'm Syed.
And we will catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.